never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
Oh, there I am, ducked down in the corner. I'll poke myself up. How are you, folks? Hope you're doing well. Sorry about last night. I wound up asleep in the chair. Had a bit of a day yesterday. Not to worry, we move on. The world wasn't too shocked, although we will have a bit of day late news because you may or may not have caught up with a few things that happened. We'll also have a bit of stuff that's come from today. Of course, the State of the Nation speech today has been particularly interesting from Donald Trump, but well, we'll get to that shortly, shall we? Who was first in the room tonight? What the? Good to have you in, brother. Nice to have you and Macca and the lovely Rachel in. Rach, you've been having a few issues. What you do? An electrical fire. You lost a couple of washing machines I saw in the chat. That isn't much good. 10% of the Australian population would shirt themselves. I think I know what you mean. If they heard the EBS, let alone knew anything about a strike. Well, I think if they thought the EBS was coming through their phone, well, they wouldn't think. They would just think it was a strange alarm and they'd turn it off. And then wonder, and then make a complaint probably because they couldn't turn it off. I've seen some very disconnected people lately. It's quite sad, the level of disconnection. We were warned, though, those folks, and we'll have a little bit of a look at some numbers here shortly about those folks who were jabbed. And while it may not have killed them, it has certainly altered many people in many not so flash ways, I would argue. All right, I did actually star a couple of these who, oops, wrong finger I'm pushing there. Jimmy and your 6-month anniversary tomorrow, Rach. That's great news. Happy anniversary to you. Can anyone see the demonic skull in the title screen? What are you talking about, Greg? Hang on. All right, I'm looking. Let me just remove that. All right, the demonic head in the title screen. I have to say, I'm looking extremely closely and I'm not seeing it. And if it is in there, blame AI, because that's what done it. And don't we love AI? Please remember to hit like and subscribe. Yes, please do, folks. We need all the help we can get around here. The lovely Connie and Alan are in the house. I hope you guys are doing well tonight. Looking forward to the cruise, I trust. I was trying to get a little bit more information today out of what's going to be on the cruise and all that sort of stuff. Haven't been able to learn anything of real note yet. I believe that the ship is going in for a bit of a refurb before we get on it. So, in fact, it's due in for that refurb about now. Whether or not it's gone in is a whole different ballgame. But anyway, looking forward to the cruise. And Vince and I will have a couple of shirt designs we'll have a play around with this week. And there's been some great shirt designs put forward, folks. Just tell you that. Some really, really great designs. Hello, Deb. Nice to see you in the house. That'd be Deb Shippard. We do have a few Debs. So hello to all the Debs. I just happened to see Deb Shippard first. So she's going well. Oyen got drenched last night, Pete says. Apparently 76 mil, 70 in an hour. God, it's starting to sound like you're living up here, mate. The weather is looking a little wet, particularly for central parts of Australia, over the next week or so, or the next 4 days. Anyway, we had a little bit of rain here in southeast Queensland where I am today, but I believe there has been a ton of it. I was talking to one of the boys from Cairns News yesterday, and they've certainly had a heap of it in far north Queensland. There's a fair bit going on in central Queensland too, I believe, but more in the outback areas at the moment. And while I don't have any pictures of them, because for some reason or other, I didn't save them or they've disappeared from where I saved them. I haven't got the images to show you of the massive amount of weather warping that's going on. It's sort of what I'm going to call it. When you see those corrugations in the clouds, I guess is the best way of explaining it. I've had some photos sent to me from space that are showing some very interesting cloud formations and that warping extending from the Tasman Sea across Australia, which is a bit interesting. And now all of a sudden we're going to have floods coming down into places where we, well, this time of year ordinarily probably wouldn't have them. So keep an eye out on this space. And if you are in those areas prone to or planning on being flooded, then please look after yourselves, look after your animals particularly. So keep an eye out, and we'll keep an eye out on what's going on with that weather warping, as I can show you in the next little while. Greg, silver is scratching its way to 127.50. I beat you, raise you on that one, 128.77 at the moment. And it's been pretty steady most of the day. There are only slow gains at the moment. But really, folks, when you look at it, is it a slow gain? There was a huge drop, went down to $106 on the 31st or thereabouts of January. And it's now taken all of February to get back up to $128.80 as it is at the moment, still showing signs of climbing, not falling. Why is that happening? Well, it's got a lot to do with the market breaking down, the COMEX breaking down. COMEX has 88 million ounces in it, at least it did yesterday. 88 million ounces. But at the end of this month, and on the 27th particularly, there is a call for 292 million ounces of silver to be put up and possibly collected. And that is the problem. Right now, people want to collect that silver, and they don't have it to deliver. The COMEX only has 88 million left in it, and China isn't selling any. And over the weekend, in the last few days, Mexico has been unable to sell too much silver back into the market. Why is that? Well, Donald Trump's teams went out, his special forces teams went out over the weekend, and they killed a very senior member of the cartel in Mexico, a very senior member of one of the cartels. This has apparently unleashed a war from the cartel types. Puerto Vallarta is a war zone at the moment, which is better known as a holiday destination. Lots of tourists, well, they're all being told to stay inside. Parts of Mexico City are on fire. There are disturbances in major cities all across Mexico. The cartel are blowing things up, attacking police, doing all sorts of, cartel-y kind of things, just playing into the hands of Donald Trump, you would have thought. However, the cartel are fairly smart, and rather than going and trying to attack the special forces that fly in black helicopters over the border from America, or taking it out against the local coppers, who for the most are paid off by the cartels and aren't, going to put them in any danger. Well, they've changed that now. Now the cartels have gone into those silver mines, and they've taken control of not so much the production of the silver, but the way that it is being sent out and sold. And that means that all these trucks full of refined silver can't get over the border because they're being stopped by cartel. If they can even get the paste out of the mines, they can't get it to anywhere to get it processed. So this is going to add another layer of pressure onto silver in the market, and over the coming days and probably weeks, we'll see a lot more to do with that. The COMEX is going to come for a crash on the 27th. What will that do with the price of silver? Well, today there have been not one, but probably at least half a dozen reliable, relatable, old school kind of financial market watchers, particularly for gold and silver, who are stating that the deal has been done to reach $120 US as a base rate for 1 ounce of silver. Now, there has been no confirmation from any market that I'm aware of, and nothing certainly from the US government or any of the allies that it needs to secure that deal. However, if that piece of news has come out, and there's been a few other bits of data that should have maybe shaken the price a bit, hasn't seemed to stop it. And be interesting to see what this closes out at by the end of the show. It hasn't been climbing exponentially today. I think from memory, we started somewhere around $124 this morning, and we're at 128.81 now. Of course, the trading will continue now all night and through until 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, Australian Eastern Standard Time, as the different world markets kick in, including New York and London. And I just think the price is possibly going to keep going in the direction that it's going, folks. So buy in the dip, they said. Well, it's still pretty hard to buy in a dip because the spread between the fake paper price of 128.71 and the price of a physical ounce of silver is still over $30. That's a big spread. So I'm a bit excited. Hopefully you are too. There could be some good things coming our way in the near future with our silver stacks. Particularly if you've been doing it for a while, you should be very chuffed indeed. And if you were a bit nervous and were worried that you'd lost everything in that big crash from January, now, yes, it was an extraordinary price, getting up into the 160 plus Australian dollars range, an extraordinary price, and a very rapid drop over 30 hours. That trigger is not available, I'm led to believe, to the market this month. They blew that load last month and it nearly cleaned them all out. They don't have the funds or the wherewithal to do it again this time by lodging fake contracts, fake orders, and all that sort of stuff. Although they are definitely, you can be assured 100% they are going to try it. Because why? Well, they're utter bastards. And, well, we're being run by them. The Royal Commission on Anti-Semitism and Social Cohesion started yesterday. It ran for not quite 42 minutes before it adjourned for a date to be fixed, or to a date to be fixed. Pardon me. In the opening, the commissioner said a few remarks. She introduced Uncle Alan, who we're going to have a look at his speech here in a minute, for a speech. And then the counsel assisting made his opening statement and remarks. And then they all pissed off, coming back at some other time. Well, it's really the welcome to country that I'm a bit concerned about. Now, this gentleman is the head of the local Aboriginal corporation in Sydney, the Land Council. So that makes him a very important person. And a welcome to country at this very important Royal Commission into anti-Semitism and social cohesion. He took the opportunity, well, to welcome us. Or did he?
In the corresponding welcome to country, I want to acknowledge that we're on Gadigal land, and given the circumstances, what occurred in December, it means that sorrow and business is part of the way of life.
Welcome to country. Sorrow and business is part of the way of life. You tell me if I'm not following along correctly here.
As we see in Australia. But also I want to acknowledge our greatest warriors, Pamoy, Bangaroo, Mosquito, and Windanite. These are our legendary warriors who fought for this country.
They fought for this country before it was this country. They're the legendary warriors, remember? Right.
And a welcome to country is about talking about their relationship to the land.
That'd be the warriors who were fighting. It's about their relationship to the land, not welcoming people to country. It's about, okay, I'm following this, I think.
In particular, when the tall ships came through Sydney Harbour in 1770.
Of course.
We're still fighting for our land rights.
Welcome to country, by the way. Welcome. Thanks for trying to sort out all this anti-Semitism and the social cohesion. Really keen to have you, on our land to try and figure this out. It's a big issue for Australia, but
We're still fighting for our sovereignty because
yeah. Tell us all. You're all singing from the songbook.
we never signed a piece of paper to say we're giving up this land. But a welcome to country is about sharing our beliefs and understanding our customs and our way of life.
Is it about a welcome at all? I'm just wondering. There's got to be a welcome here somewhere.
Because truly, we have faced many diversities over the past since 1770.
Many diversities they've faced over the past since 1770. That would be the many changes of government that have, threatened to take money off them or figured out new ways to give it to him, I'm
And we
supposing.
know that atrocities have been committed against us,
Oh, yeah, they've taken some money off you, I'm sure of it.
and we're still wanting a reckoning.
Welcome. Sorry, this is a welcome to country, isn't it? Right?
Like yourselves, you're finding a reckoning and a solution to the problems
Oh, it's not a welcoming. It's a reckoning.
we faced every day since 1770 about Australians respecting us
Pass the fucking violin,
and
please.
Australians respecting all of us. And because we had a failed referendum, like yourselves, we feel your pain, we feel your sorrow, and we feel that. But a welcome to countries is about understanding why you come to these lands.
I thought a welcome to country was to say, welcome to country.
Because this is a land of opportunity, but also
Depends if you're part of the Aboriginal Land Council or not. Sure, it's a land of opportunity if you're part of the Aboriginal Land Council. If you're not, then, well, not so much the opportunity for you.
it means that First Nations people from here, from Bondi to Sydney,
Can say welcome.
there are something in the order of like 54 clans that make up all the Aboriginal clans.
Surely, with 54 clans, there's at least one word for welcome. Just one. Just one. You can even use the English one. Welcome.
Here in New South Wales. But here in Sydney, we've got 29 clans.
All right, 29 welcomes then in different languages. Can you do one? Just one? English counts. Go on.
And the only two surviving clans that live today are the Gadigal people and the Bidjigal people of La Perouse. Myself, like the Commissioner said in the brief, is that my parents come from far wider places, but because of the
So my parents don't actually come from Gadigal land. They come from far wider places. And in her introduction to him, the Commissioner outlined that his parents came from far western New South Wales.
past policies, it means that Aboriginal people have been flown into Sydney since the 1770, pushing
Aboriginal people have been flown into Sydney since 1770. Now, I understand he doesn't mean that they were flown here in 1770 because planes hadn't been invented yet, and I'm sure he's not that silly that he doesn't know that. The point I raise here is that if you are going to be put forward in Sydney as the head donkey of the Aboriginal Land Council responsible for giving a welcome to country at this Royal Commission into anti-Semitism and social cohesion. Instead, we've got some kind of I was going to say a history lesson, but I'm not even sure that it's that.
people off land. And we do understand that. But the goodwill of us,
Does it involve a welcome? WELCOME. You can say it in whatever language. Got 29 to choose from. Give it a go.
in terms of our sorrow and our business, we still have a reckoning. But a welcome to country is about exploring all this. And I wish the Commissioner well.
How is a welcome to country about exploring their reckoning?
And I hope that one day you would feel fit and proper to conduct the proceedings on land.
So hang on a minute. One day, Commissioner, I hope that you feel it would be fit and proper to go outside and conduct these proceedings on the land. in the grass, feet in the grass, all that kind of. I mean, I have no problem with that, but
So we can mix the dirt, smoke the bush, and have a proper smoking ceremony. So with that, good morning to you.
oh God Almighty! So we can have a proper smoking ceremony. Oh God! Well, I have my doubts that bloke could arrange a proper smoking ceremony because he couldn't arrange a proper friggin' welcome. Instead, it became what you would expect from a Labor-appointed person of land council stature to come in and ramble. That's all it was, a friggin' ramble. These are meant to be putting the best face forward for Aboriginal people. If you had that bloke turn up in a conference, do you really think he's capable of having an intellectual conversation? Do you think he's capable of planning that sort of conversation at a boardroom table, which might be a competitive market where they're fighting for more money for the land council? You reckon that bloke is a good spokesperson? I'm appalled. I'm appalled that we needed a welcome to country for a royal commission. I'm even more appalled that they stump up that fool. And we're all meant to say, oh, bloody great. We live in a kakistocracy, folks. Shit government formed by shit human beings. And somehow they got elected. I know you didn't elect them. I certainly know I didn't elect them. There are a lot of shit human beings out there, and I've got to suggest to you that quite possibly good old Uncle What's-His-Face from Gadigal land in Sydney, but not really because his ancestors come from somewhere way out west where maybe one of the two of those tribes don't exist anymore. God knows, there were 59, now there's 20-something. Still can't find one single word for welcome. Just disgusting and absolutely worthless. And if that is how our Royal Commission into Anti-Semitism and Social Cohesion starts off, God help us with where it's going to go in the future. Because I can't see it doing anything of much benefit to anybody. All right, folks, get your cameras out. Get your screen up close. Make it big if you've got it. Get ready to take a screenshot. The list of 28 names that we've all been going on about for years has been available, and we've probably all seen it. And the list I'm about to show you, you have probably seen, but I know many of you will want to have it for quick access. So that's why I'm saying get your cameras out, get it up on the screen, and get ready. I'll pull my head out of the picture, and you can take a shot of this. This is a list that isn't 21 names. It's now grown to 51 names. So 28 names, now grown to 51 names. Now, this is a list that purports to name VIP pedophiles according to a police records or a police investigation and their records. Some of this was meant to be suppressed in 2016 for 90 years, I think it was, from memory. It might have been 50. But they're the names. Take your photos and do with that what you will. I don't know. No evidence against many of them. Some of them I've never even heard of. But then again, I'm not a widely known political activist in all the states, but there's probably more than one or two politicians in there and businessmen. But some of them might be known to you. Certainly, a lot of the politicians are certainly known to me. We talked before about the weather wars. Donald Trump and RFK Jr. a couple of days ago pulled the trigger on one of the most controversial and long-awaited operations in modern history, a federal takedown of the chemtrail program. Now, the chemtrail program has been exposed. It is now 100% fully exposed. Those people who still believe that chemtrails are contrails are delusional zombies. But this takes a little bit. So why are we still seeing this weather modification stuff happening? Well, some would say maybe it's doing good. Okay, Central Australia might be able to do with a bit of rain, but do we need towns flooded and washed away? Do we need roads flooded and washed away? No, we don't. We have a government that's, spending faster than a bunch of sailors at a hooker house on, shore leave. And these weather modifications are only adding to the bill that the people eventually have to pay. So I'm not completely sure how we get around this, folks. I don't think there's anything we can do. I've got one of these photos that I can show you regarding the warping, the weather warping, and this is cloud at different heights in a wave kind of formation, and you can sort of tell the wave is a frequency wave, and it's hard for me to explain in this because of the well, I don't have an oscilloscope. I could probably draw you a picture with an oscilloscope, but from these pictures, we can measure the frequency in the wave from the peak to the trough, and they are very consistent, and that indicates that they are man-made, not naturally forming. So where this is actually coming from at the moment is somewhere to the northeast of Australia. I want to say that there has been reports of 2 ships recently in New Zealand. One of those ships has now, I believe, gone further north and is somewhere between Fiji and Port Moresby or Papua New Guinea. So take from that what you will, but it's certainly capable of producing some stuff like that. Not real flash, I've got to say. Now, I did say to you that Donald Trump was having his pretty spectacular State of the Union speech today. Pardon me. Now, it went for a good couple of hours or more. I did go and get quite a lot of grabs. I'm not going to bore you with them, but there's a couple that I thought would be interesting. I particularly like this because I think it affects not just America, it affects just about every other country in the world as well.
And no more crooked mail-in ballots except for illness, disability, military, or travel. None. And this should be an easy one. And by the way, it's polling at 89%, including Democrats. 89%.
Don't some of those Democrats look happy?
Mayor of New York City. I think he's a nice guy, actually. Speak to him a lot. Bad pop.
The new communist mayor of New York City, who is currently paying people a little over $19 an hour to shovel snow on the streets of New York, but only if they can provide ID, 2 forms of ID. And you don't need ID to vote? Well, they're going to bring back voter ID, I believe. However, well, that is the hope. That is the hope. Whether or not it will happen. Donald Trump asked a number of very strong questions today, not just to the people of America, but to those people specifically seated in the chairs of power in the U.S. Congress.
One of the great things about the State of the Union is how it gives Americans the chance to see clearly what their representatives really believe. So tonight I'm inviting every legislature to join with my administration in reaffirming a fundamental principle. If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens.
Now, he's asked everybody to stand up, those that support that statement. And if you look at everything on the left-hand side of the House there, it's all sitting. That is all Democrats. Now, they haven't cracked a smile since he walked in the room. They're definitely not going to clap and support everything he does. But this is sheer magnificent politics. Why wouldn't you stand and support fair, free elections. Voter ID. Well, you don't want to do it because you're a thief, because you plan on committing a crime. And that just shows the American people watching the faces of the Democrats that don't believe that looking after Americans first is the right thing to do. The only reason I'm showing this to you folks is that we have the same problem. Our Australian government, Albo Sleazy and his corporate corrupt mates, have left us in the same position.
Ashamed of yourself not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself. That is why I'm also asking you to end deadly sanctuary cities that protect the criminals and enact serious penalties for public officials who block the removal of criminal aliens. In many cases, drug lords, murderers all over our country, they're blocking the removal of these people out of our country, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
It was beautiful. That little piece of filth there on the left was Ilhan Omar. She's Somali. Now, elsewhere in the speech, just prior to that, Trump had been speaking directly to the Somali fraud that has taken place in Minnesota, where, pardon me, tens of millions of dollars have been siphoned off by Somali thieves, pirates, as he called them. The Somali pirates have raided Minnesota, I think is the quote, or paraphrasing him, but he called them Somali pirates. The look on that Ilhan Omar's face, who is under all sorts of investigations for vote rigging in her electorate, being married to her brother, I think was one of the rumors that came out, and that sort of thing can happen in Somalia, apparently. She spends most of her time back in Somalia when she's not required to be in America. Yeah, there's a whole heap of interesting things going on about that piece of crap. But, didn't the Democrats get shown up? And wouldn't Labor be shown up in the same fashion? If we had a government, or even an opposition, rather, capable of holding this government to task, I simply don't think we've got it. We don't. But Trump seems to think a golden age is coming.
5 months from now, our country will celebrate an epic milestone in American history, the 250th anniversary of our glorious American independence. This July 4th, we will mark 2.5 centuries of liberty and triumph, progress and freedom in the most incredible and exceptional nation ever to exist on the face of the earth. And you've seen nothing yet. We're going to do better and better and better. This is the golden age of America.
The golden age of America. And the price of gold, $5,183 at the moment, which makes it about 7,300 here in Australia. So yeah, there you go, $7,398.11 if you go to Ainsley Bullion right now. Refreshed, $7,309.36 per ounce of gold right now. Platinum too at $3,240.57. Platinum's always a good investment. Don't forget, if you are going to go and buy online at Ainsley Bullion, leave my name in the notes section. You'll get a little discount. Always nice. Now, if you haven't been and checked Ainsley Insights, as I told you to the other day, and you might be wondering, I've spoken to a few people in the last couple of days who've said, I ordered product from Ainsley, and some have ordered from other bullion dealers, and they've been waiting since, before Christmas, essentially, to get it. Michael Engerman, the CEO of Ainsley, explains in pretty good detail in the latest Ainsley Insights on their page why and where the bottlenecks are. There is no shortage of silver per se at the moment for Ainsley Bullion. They've got a ton of it. What they have to do is get it refined. And getting it refined is the hard point, because there is a huge amount of demand. And obviously the Perth Mint is the largest refiner in the country. They have a full range of their own stuff to be making, plus their customer stuff. Then there are 2 other refineries in the country who are also working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, they can only put through so much product in 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And unfortunately, the orders, just in Ainsley Bullion's case, the orders that came through between Christmas and New Year, in that 2-week period where they were closed for the Christmas holidays, those orders there were the largest orders they've ever had in that sort of time frame in their history. I mean, it was unprecedented. They had months and months and months worth of orders in 2 weeks, and that was because we saw what the price was doing. So don't worry if you haven't received your product yet, and don't worry if you want to go on and order product and it's got a little red note beside it that says, not available yet or will be delivered in wherever. But if that's what you want, be prepared, buy it today at the price you get today. And I tell you, in a month or 2 when it turns up, and it's worth a shitload more, you feel a lot better about it. It's almost like having 2 surprises. So bear that in mind. Supply is not the issue when it comes to silver. The issue is the processing, getting it put into the bars, getting it put into the minted bits, getting it pressed into the coins, and then getting it shipped. That is where the slow point is in the process at the moment, and it's only because of such extreme demand. And it looks like the demand is going to keep on going. Not a bad thing. If you've got a bit of it, hang on to it. That's what I'd say. Now, I'm trying to do less politics, but as I've gone into Donald Trump, we will do a politic-free show for Rachel. I've just got to think about how I'm going to do it. Might be Friday night. Yet we'll see what we can do. There are a couple of things I want to touch on with what's going on with the One Nation vote around the country. Now, we saw their launch in South Australia over the weekend, and Vince was there, brought us a report from there the other night. Now, I've been hearing some interesting scenarios surrounding One Nation. A lot of people, me included, have been talking up the idea that One Nation could be swept to power, potentially with the right preference mix. Could they win the lower house? Could they take the lead in this nation? Well, it would take a hell of a preference deal, because the Libs and the Labor criminals will preference each other ahead of One Nation. You can be guaranteed of that. So it might be a big ask to get large numbers of One Nation people into the lower house. However, given the nature and the levels of support around the country that One Nation has currently, it shouldn't be a big ask to get a lot more of them into the Senate. Now, I've heard, and I don't know if this is true at all, it may have been announced, it may not have, I heard this a couple of days ago, but I haven't seen anything formally from anywhere, that Barnaby Joyce does not intend on running in the lower house at the next election. Barnaby Joyce intends on running for the Senate on the One Nation ticket in the next election. That's what I've heard. Now, I don't know if it's true. I'd be disappointed if it were. But then, not being a terribly great political sort of mind, there may well be political advantage in doing that, particularly when you look at some of the figures that are coming up around the country. Now, a new survey has been taken, and this is a total primary vote graph. So at the moment, One Nation are running second to Labor as the primary vote leaders on 29, with One Nation at 24, the Coalition 2 behind them at 23, and the Greens and everybody else running well behind. But what happens if you drill down into that total? Well, you look in the inner metro areas, they're owned by Labor, and the Greens have a pretty good following in there too. So too do the Liberal Nationals, although it's still well below anything that the Labor Party is doing. And One Nation are there. They're mildly above the Greens, but getting stronger in inner metro areas. That's the point I'm making here. They are getting stronger. What about outer metro? Well, that gives you an indication. They've had quite a large jump, up to 25, 6 points behind Labor as a primary vote or vote leader. We are still 2 years, at least, from this federal election. That gives One Nation a lot of time to make up their inner metro and their outer metro votes. Let's go a bit further afield. The further you get out of the city and the provincial areas, One Nation becomes the primary vote winner at 28, 27 for the coalition, 22 for the criminals that are currently in power. Mind you, I'm pretty surprised at the Green vote. Now, bear in mind that in any provincial voting, the Greens' preferences are going to go to Labor. The Nats and the Independents, well, they could go either way. So from a lower house perspective, while that looks reasonably strong and could get stronger, it's still a big ask to win a majority of those seats. 76 of them, I think they need, don't they? So this is rural areas. Now, in rural areas, One Nation do tend to lead the pack and have done so now for the last 3 weeks. That pack is showing no signs of catching up. In fact, One Nation looks to be pulling ahead of that further and further and further. I couldn't think of a better way to show that until you break it down into the working classes. So who is actually supporting One Nation? Well, Labor is sitting there at 24. The Libs have got 19 support from the working class. One Nation through the roof at 28. The surprise there for me once again is the Greens vote at 17. It's pretty weird. Then if you look at the middle class selections, well, once again, Labor and the Libs are on top. One Nation, not so much, getting down, dropping down to 22. And then if you go to the upper class, I bet you won't be surprised to find out here, the One Nation vote is almost extinct. That's because the well-off class seem to think that the Labor Party and I guess the Liberal Party aren't doing such a bad job. I guess it all depends on how much money you've got in your bank account. I know which group I fall into there, and I'm pleased to say it's growing rapidly. So what do? Would you be disappointed if One Nation decided in their political strategy that they weren't going to target the lower house, that we were going to be left with either a Labor or a Liberal Prime Minister, unchallenged in the House by what could be a whole bunch of One Nation people sitting on the crossbenches, instead of a whole bunch of independent goons able to be bribed with ease by the Labor Party? Jackie Lambie's one of them. Do you reckon we can get rid of her in Tasmania? Certainly, Lee Hansen is making big inroads in Tasmania, but I think she's running for a Senate seat. Oh, well, that would put her in Jackie Lambie's lap, wouldn't it? So, Pauline's daughter running in Tassie for a Senate seat. Would you want to see both Miss Hansen and Ms. Hansen in the Parliament together? Could be quite a dynamic team. What do we think about if they decide not to go to the lower house, but they do manage to get significant balance of power in the Senate? Do we think that mightn't be a bad idea because One Nation are untested in leadership? This would give them a way to certainly have a lot more access to the machinery of government, particularly if they had the balance of power in the Senate. Would it be a warm-up to them being able to step up and become a primary party, something that's clear certain parts of this country are very keen to give some power to? I guess all will remain to be seen, a bit like what's happening with the spicy cough. Some interesting new safety survey data has been released. Now, there are a few things that you need to take into account here. Let's just start with the blue number, the light blue number particularly. Now, 2,121,357 people completed one dose and managed to fill out this survey. 37% of people who filled out the survey had at least one bad reaction. Moving on, for the second dose, 1 million, nice to see the numbers going down, 1,916,639 people second dose, but 53% reported at least one adverse event. And then we go to 47% after 3 boosters have reported adverse events. Folks, even for those people who find it very difficult to deal with numbers, and trust me, I am one of those, even at first glance, does that not make you think over 50% of people who took 2 and 3 doses have suffered adverse events? What about those people who are 5, 6, 7 shots deep? How many adverse events have they got? Are they still even being registered? So what sort of events are being registered? Well, in the various different groups, there are a number of, I'm just trying to find a little group here. Right, so in the first dose, in the light blue, 30% of people reacted. After 2 doses, 41%, 39% after 3. Faced local reaction. Fatigue, 27%. The second one seems to be, and this is strong data through all these data sets, 42% suffered fatigue, 33% suffered headache, 33% suffered muscle or joint pain, 33%, are you seeing a repetitive number here? Muscle or joint pain, I said it again, 11% gastroenteritis stuff, 14% fever. All the others drop off. So that it looks to be the second dose seemed to be the most severe and had the most adverse events of those reported. Now, the Australian government claims 95% of our 26 million population has been jabbed, has taken at least 2 jabs. I think that is their boast. Now, I don't think that those numbers add up with the survey data. How many people have had the jab and it hasn't been reported? How many people have gone back to their doctor and said, "Oh, I think this is because of the jab," and the doctor said, "Oh, no, it wouldn't have been because of that. No. And by the way, you need another one. You're going to sign up for it." The doctors, in a lot of cases, are still doing that, sadly. They're the ones that are greedy because they're still being paid to talk you into getting jabbed. So if you still have friends, let's face it, not many of us have got friends anymore who are still going to be doing that sort of shit. But if you do still happen to know anybody who's doing that, try and ward them off a bit. Give them a little bit of an idea that there are some very strong data sets out there that will tell them probably not what they want to hear, but what they definitely need to know. Yeah. There's a lot of information for those folks, and I understand for many of them it's upsetting or confronting, but there's no point in running away from it. Anyway, on that note, I'm going to end with something a little bit nicer. Now, you all heard me talk about Skipper Pete and what a marvelous man he is. I can't remember if I showed you these videos or not, but I promised him that I would because it just seems a bit cool. Now, I know plenty of you like your barbecues. I know a lot of you like your smoked meats. Well, Skipper Pete has a smoker that I think is probably one of the best things I've ever seen. And he sent us a little video when he was doing some bacon recently.
Well, there she is. She's up and going. Well, there's the bacon hanging in there. Well, you can see all the smoke. It's actually starting to smell pretty good. And then the bottom, there's the bottom of it. It's very cool, mate. It's not even hot. Oh, warm, I'd say.
So, warm. It gets better.
Well, we're still pretty cold, mate. Not even registering on the scale, and that's a good one that works. maybe 30 degrees here. I checked the just fill the chip up, so that's going good. And then I've just turned them over. Oops, I've just swapped them over. I'm smoking them from both ends this time. So
there's nothing worse than having your smoke in one end of your bacon and not in the other end of your bacon, don't you reckon? Well, I can't show you that and not show you what it looks like coming out, eh?
Let's see what our temperature's running at. It's running a little bit hotter than I want. Seems to have warmed up a bit. Don't know why. Let's see what we got here. 51. Well, that's not too bad. Try to be under 50, but I've got a bit of a storm out here. Well, that one's a bit cooler. That's okay. Looking good.
Looking real good. Real good. So for those of you that didn't know, Skipper Pete makes his own bacon, makes his own sausages, does a whole heap of stuff himself. He's also the man to go and see if you happen to have any asbestos hanging out of your building in far north Queensland. I'm looking forward to getting up there and seeing you at Ingham, mate, and thanks for sending in the video. That smoker, I just love it. There is going to be so many envious blokes floating around. Hello from Shaz in Paris Creek. Bloody lovely to have you, Shaz. Great to have you all in tonight. My mum lived in a small housing unit with 13 other units. 5 of them died within 12 months. Bloody awful. Doctor of 46 years, never wore the muzzle, never handed out the juice. His practice is now in an elevated multi-story building. Yeah, that's how they do it, isn't it? Unfortunately. There are good people amongst, the filth that keep propagating it, but my 75-year-old sister and brother-in-law had around 5 jabs. Wow. Sadly, he's now got cancer and Vicky has heart issues. That's the thing. A lot of the people who are suffering ill health from this don't want to be told, we told you so. They know. If you told your family before they got jabbed and now they're sick, they know. They know in their heart that you were right. And it's humiliating, it's degrading, it's all sorts of things. What they don't tend to do is say, you were right, and I forgive you. They just go and push on regardless. Oh, well, I made the decision. Hopefully it won't kill me. Maybe it wasn't that. Well, it's getting too frequent, far too frequent in people who've been jabbed. And it was always going to be a 5 to 7 year death program. So not everybody's going to die. That's a great thing about it. The bad thing about it is that we can't pick the ones that are. And sadly, it comes out of the blue. We had a fella here recently, just in the last week or so. He was, I think he was 4 jabs in and didn't wake up, went to bed one night, didn't wake up. So there's so much of that happening around. And of course, the questions are not being asked. Oh, could that have been to do with? Oh, no, because the cover-up is still in. But I don't think it's going to be able to be staying covered up for too much longer. All right, folks, going to love you and leave you for tonight. Have yourself a bloody good one. Be very safe. I'm meant to be in another live stream right now. In fact, I'm meant to be in there half an hour ago, but it can wait because you are much more important. Thank you for joining us tonight. If you want to help out, you can. You can buy a T-shirt at merch.vofhq.com, or you can buy a $2 ticket in our lottery, maybe win yourself $750. We're very keen to give that away again, and that'll help out the Donkey Sanctuary. Unfortunately, people in Victoria cannot buy those tickets. It's rather sad. Blame the bloody government. God knows we do for everything else. And hopefully one day there'll be a government elected there that might actually do some good for the people and allow you to win a bit of money rather than just keep taking it off you. Not all dickheads are on the streets, folks. Quite a lot of them, it turns out, live in parliament houses all around the nation. Hooray.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's ride!